The mansion breathed in darkness. Rain hammered against floor-to-ceiling windows, turning Seattle into watercolor streaks beyond the glass. Leah Hart's rubber-soled shoes whispered against marble as she moved through rooms that smelled of cedar and abandonment. Empty, they'd told her. The house would be empty. Her fingers traced dust on the grand piano, leaving clean trails in the gray film. Lightning flashed, painting the room silver for half a heartbeat. The keys beneath her cloth gleamed like broken teeth. Then she heard it. A voice rough as gravel, sharp as breaking glass. "Don't move." Her hand froze, mid-wipe. The cloth fell, landing soundless on ivory keys. He sat in shadow near the window, silhouette in a wheelchair, rain-like carving angles across his face. Dark hair, threaded with silver. Eyes that looked like they'd been waiting years for someone to see them. "I thought you were gone," he whispered, each word scraping out like it hurt. Leah's pulse hammered in her throat. "I was told the house was empty." It is his gaze never left hers. "I'm just the ghost that haunts it." She should leave. Every instinct screamed run, but something in his voice held her there, something broken and desperately human. "What's your name?" His question came softer now. "Leah. Leah." He tasted the word like wine he'd forgotten existed. "I'm Ethan Cole, and I haven't spoken to another person in 3 years." The confession hung between them, heavy as thunder. "Why?" she asked before she could stop herself. His lips twisted, not quite a smile. "Because I had nothing left to say." He wheeled forward an inch. Rain drummed harder. Until tonight, lightning split the sky. In that white flash, Leah saw the truth in his face. This wasn't danger. This was drowning. "I should finish the hallway," she said. Voice unsteady, or Ethan said, his eyes reflecting the storm outside. "You could stay." The word hit her chest like a fist. "Just for a moment," he added quietly. "I forgot what another person's breathing sounds like." Leah stood frozen, cloth still in her hand, watching this stranger who looked like he'd been carved from loneliness itself. She knew she should walk away, but she'd been drowning too, in her own way, Case she heard herself say. "One moment." Ethan's shoulders sagged like she'd just granted him oxygen. Outside, Seattle drowned. Inside, 2 broken people breathed the same air for the first time in years. Neither knew it yet. But this moment would destroy them both. Days blurred into something softer. Leah arrived each morning with tea and silence, moving through the mansion like sunlight through water. Ethan watched from corners, from doorways, from the window where rain still fell in sheets. They didn't speak much, but the silence between them felt different now. Alive. One afternoon she found the study. Newspaper clippings covered the walls. Headlines screamed about crashes and miracles. Photos showed a younger Ethan standing tall, smiling beside another man. Tech genius Ethan Cole loses co-founder in fatal crash. The man who made paralysis obsolete now paralyzed himself. Her breath caught. She'd been cleaning a dead man's museum. "Now you know." His voice came from behind her, flat and empty. Leah turned. Ethan filled the doorway in his chair, backlit by gray daylight. "I'm sorry," she said. "Everyone is." He wheeled closer. "But sorry doesn't change physics." The jet went down. "Marcus died. I survived. The irony is I built technology to help paralyzed people walk again, and now I can't stand on my own feet." "That's not irony," Leah said quietly. "That's cruelty." Something flickered in his eyes. "You're not afraid of me? Should I be? Most people are. They see the money, the silence, the chair. They see a cautionary tale." Stopped inches from her. "What do you see?" Leah met his gaze. Rain drummed against windows. "I see someone who stopped talking because words felt useless." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Who are you?" "Someone who understands." She turned back to the clippings. "I was a nurse. Trauma ward. I watched people die every week. Then my mother got sick, and I couldn't save her. I tried everything. Every prayer, every treatment." Her voice cracked. She died holding my hand, and I felt like a fraud wearing scrubs. So you became a maid. I became invisible. Leia's reflection stared back from the glass. It was easier than failing again. Ethan reached out. His fingers brushed hers, feather-light. We're quite the pair, he said softly. The man who lost his voice and the woman who lost her purpose. Maybe that's why we fit. Leia's hand closed around his. They stood like that, rain falling, silence stretching. Two people holding on to each other in the wreckage. Then Ethan's phone buzzed. He pulled away, checking the screen. His face went white. What is it? Leia asked. My company. His voice turned to stone. They're releasing the new neural mapping prototype. The one Marcus and I designed together. He looked up, eyes blazing. They're erasing his name from the patents. They can't do that. They can. They are. Ethan's hands trembled on the armrests. I have to stop them. How? You said yourself, they replaced you. Then I'll speak. His voice cracked like thunder. For the first time in 3 years, I'll speak. For Marcus, Leia knelt beside him. Ethan, if you do this, if you go public, everything changes. The world will see you again. I don't care about the world seeing me. His eyes locked on hers. I care about you seeing me try. The words hit her like lightning. I'll help you, she said. Why? Because silence can be survival. Leia's hand found his face, gentle as rain. But sometimes it's just another kind of dying. Ethan leaned into her touch. If I do this, if I fight them, they'll come for me. They'll destroy whatever's left. Then we'll face it together. He kissed her then. Desperate, hungry, tasting like 3 years of held breath finally released. She kissed back, fingers tangling in his hair. Anchoring him to something real, when they pulled apart, thunder rolled across the lake. Tomorrow, Ethan said, I hold a press conference. I tell the truth about Marcus, about the patents, about everything they buried. Tomorrow, Leia agreed, but neither of them saw the security camera in the corner. The red light blinking, someone was watching, and that someone had very different plans. Morning came cold and sharp. Leia arrived early, finding Ethan already dressed in a suit that hung slightly loose on his frame. He looked like a warrior preparing for battle. Ready? She asked. No. He smiled weakly. But I'm doing it anyway. They'd scheduled the press conference for noon. Media outlets were already gathering outside the gates. Cameras hungry for the return of the vanished billionaire. Leia helped him with his tie. Her fingers trembled. Hey. Ethan caught her hand. Whatever happens today, you gave me something I thought I'd lost. What's that? A reason to fight. She kissed him softly. Then let's win. The doorbell shattered the moment. Ethan frowned. We're not expecting anyone. Leia moved to the intercom, checking the camera feed. A woman stood at the gate. Expensive coat, perfect hair, eyes like winter. Who is that? Leia asked. Ethan's face drained of color. Rebecca. My ex-wife. What does she want? Nothing good. He wheeled toward the door. Let her in. Rebecca swept into the mansion like she owned it. Once, she had. Her gaze swept over Leia with surgical precision, dismissing her in half a second. Ethan. Her voice dripped false warmth. You look well. What do you want, Rebecca? She pulled an envelope from her purse, placing it on the piano. I'm here to help you. I don't need your help. Yes, you do. Rebecca's smile turned sharp. Because if you go public today, if you accuse the board of erasing Marcus's name, they'll destroy you. Fraud charges. Mental incompetence. They'll paint you as a bitter cripple desperate for attention. Ethan's hands clenched. Let them try. They have evidence, Ethan. Emails from your account. Documents with your digital signature. All showing you authorized the patent changes. Rebecca leaned closer. They've been planning this for months. I never signed anything, but you did. She tapped the envelope. Your household manager had access to your accounts. She signed everything in your name. Leia's stomach dropped. That's not true. Rebecca's gaze slid to her. And who are you? She's with me, Ethan said firmly. I'm sure she is. Rebecca's smile turned venomous. Tell me, dear, how much are they paying you? Paying me? Leia's voice rose. I don't know what you're talking about, don't you? Rebecca pulled out her phone, showing photos. Leia in the mansion? Leia going through files. Leia at a coffee shop meeting with a man in a suit. That's David Chen, head of the board. You've met with him 3 times in the past 2 weeks. The room tilted. Ethan Layer turned to him. I can explain. His face had gone blank. Empty. The same look he'd worn when she first saw him. A ghost in a chair. Is it true? His voice came from somewhere far away. Did you meet with them? Yes, but not for the reason you think. David Chen approached me. He offered money if I'd gather information about your plans. Leia's words tumbled out desperate. I said no. Every time. I told him to leave me alone. But you didn't tell me. Ethan's eyes held no warmth now. Just ice. I didn't want to worry you. I thought I could handle it. You thought... He laughed bitterly. 3 years I spent silent. 3 years I trusted no one. Then you walked in, and I let myself believe again. He wheeled backward. I was a fool. Ethan, please, get out. The words cut clean through her. You don't mean that, Leia whispered. I mean it more than anything I've ever said. He looked at Rebecca. What do you want? Rebecca's smile was pure triumph. Cancel the press conference. Sign the company over to me. I'll handle the board, clear your name quietly, and everyone walks away clean. And if I don't, then they release everything. You'll be arrested, humiliated, destroyed. She glanced at Leia, along with your little friend here. Conspiracy to commit fraud carries 10 years. Leia felt her world crumbling. I didn't do anything. Tell that to the jury. Rebecca tucked her phone away. You have 1 hour, Ethan. Choose wisely. She left in a cloud of perfume and poison. The silence that followed felt like death. Ethan Leia tried again. I said get out. You wouldn't look at her. You were supposed to be different. But you're just like everyone else. Using me? I never used you. I love you. Love. The words sounded obscene in his mouth. You don't even know what that means. Leia felt tears burning. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you. Finally, he looked up. His eyes were dead again, the life she'd brought back extinguished. Leave, Leia, before I call security. She stood there, shaking, wanting to fight. But what could she say? The photos were real. The meetings happened. No matter how innocent her intentions, it looked damning. I'm sorry, she whispered. So am I. Leia walked out into rain that felt like tears. Behind her, the mansion door closed with the finality of a coffin lid inside. Ethan sat alone in the gathering dark, staring at Rebecca's envelope. He opened it with trembling hands. Inside were the documents, and a note in Marcus's handwriting. If you're reading this, I'm dead. And Rebecca is lying. Trust no one but yourself, brother. Finish what we started. Ethan's hands shook as realization crashed over him. He'd just destroyed the only person who'd been telling the truth. Rain turned to storm. Ethan sat in darkness, Marcus's note burning in his hands. The truth clicked into place, like bones breaking. Rebecca had orchestrated everything. The meetings with David Chen hadn't been about bribing Leia. They'd been about framing her, creating evidence of conspiracy where none existed, and Ethan had fallen for it. His phone lit up. A message from an unknown number. She's at Pioneer Square. Alone, they're coming for her. You have 20 minutes. Ethan's blood turned cold. He dialed Leia's number. It went straight to voicemail. No. He grabbed his chair, wheeling toward the garage. His hands slipped on the wheels, clumsy with panic. The elevator felt like it took hours. His car sat in the garage, modified with hand controls he rarely used. He hadn't driven in 2 years. He transferred into the driver's seat, muscles screaming. The keys slipped from his fingers once, twice. On the third try, the engine roared to life. Seattle blurred past. Rain hammered the windshield. Every red light felt like eternity. Pioneer Square appeared through the storm. Leia stood beneath an awning, soaked, phone pressed to her ear. Two men in dark suits approached from opposite sides. Ethan slammed the horn. She looked up. Their eyes met across the rain. The men closed in. One grabbed her arm. Leia fought, but they were bigger, stronger. Ethan threw open the car door. Leia, run. She broke free, sprinting toward him. The men pursued. Ethan's hands flew over the controls, bringing the car alongside her. She dove through the passenger door. Ethan floored it. Tires shrieked on wet pavement. In the rearview mirror, the men scrambled for their own vehicle. What's happening? Leia gasped, dripping water across leather seats. Rebecca set us both up. Ethan's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. Those documents, the photos, everything. She's been working with the board to take control of the company. They need me discredited, and you disappeared. Why me? Because you're the only witness to what I was planning. If you vanish, they can claim I was unstable, that I made everything up. He took a corner too fast. The car fishtailed. I'm sorry. God, Leia, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. You were scared. Her hand found his on the gear shift. We both were. Behind them, headlights flashed. Their pursuers gaining ground. Ethan, they're coming. I know. His jaw set. Hold on. He drove like a man possessed, weaving through traffic, ignoring red lights. The other car matched him move for move. Where are we going? Leia asked. The only place they won't follow. Ethan's eyes met hers. The press conference. If we can get there, get in front of cameras, we're safe. They can't touch us with the whole world watching. It's in 10 minutes. Across the city, then we better be fast. They flew through streets slick with rain. The pursuing car rammed their bumper once, twice. Metal shrieked. Ethan, I've got this. But his hands were shaking. Years of disuse made every movement agony. They emerged onto the main boulevard. The convention center loomed ahead, surrounded by news vans. The other car pulled alongside. A window rolled down. A gun appeared. Get down. Ethan yanked the wheel hard. Their car jumped the curb, scattering pedestrians. The shot went wide, shattering a storefront window. Screams erupted. Cameras swung toward the chaos. Perfect. Ethan slammed the brakes in front of the convention center. Media swarmed like sharks smelling blood. Stay close to me, he told Leia. Don't let them separate us. They climbed out. Ethan transferred to his chair. Leia stayed at his side, a hand on his shoulder. Microphones thrust forward. Cameras flashed. Mr. Cole, is it true you're filing charges? Mr. Cole, who was shooting at you? Ethan raised a hand. Silence fell like snow. 3 years ago, I lost my voice, he said, words steady now. Today I'm taking it back. My former company, my ex-wife, and several board members have been engaged in fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. He gestured to Leia. This woman saved my life. Twice. Once when she reminded me why speaking matters. And once when she stood beside me, when everyone else ran. Rebecca appeared at the edge of the crowd, face twisted with rage. That's a lie. She shouted. He's mentally unstable. This woman manipulated him. Really? Ethan pulled out his phone, projecting Marcus's note onto a nearby screen. Then explain this. A note from Marcus Webb, my dead partner, warning me about your schemes. Dated 1 week before the crash. The crowd erupted. Rebecca's face went ashen. And these. Ethan played recordings, emails, proof of every conspiracy, all recovered from my personal servers. The ones you thought I'd forgotten about. Security moved toward Rebecca. She bolted. The police caught her halfway to her car. Ethan sagged in his chair. Leia knelt beside him. Is it over? She asked, almost. He looked at the cameras, at the world finally watching. I have one more thing to say. He took Leia's hand. Yes. This woman asked for nothing. She came into my home expecting silence and found a ghost. She could have walked away. She should have walked away. But she stayed. His voice cracked. She stayed when I was cruel, when I was broken, when I gave her every reason to leave. She stayed because she saw something in me I'd forgotten existed. Tears streamed down Leia's face. I don't have much left to give, Ethan continued. No company, no reputation. Just me, damaged and difficult and probably impossible to love. He squeezed her hand. But if you'll have me, if you'll take this broken man and this broken body, I swear I'll spend every remaining breath proving you made the right choice. The world held its breath, Ethan Leia whispered. You don't have to prove anything. Then what do I have to do? Just keep breathing beside me. She smiled through tears. That's all I ever wanted. He pulled her close. They kissed in front of cameras, in front of the whole world. Two broken people choosing each other in the wreckage. Later, when the police had taken statements and the media frenzy calmed, they sat together in the car, watching rain fall on Seattle. What happens now? Leia asked. Now. Ethan laced their fingers together. Now we go home. And tomorrow, we figure out how to build a life from pieces. Sounds hard. Everything worth doing is hard. But at least we're not alone anymore. She leaned against him, listening to his heartbeat, steady and sure. Outside, the storm was ending. Inside, something new was beginning. 6 months later, the mansion no longer felt like a tomb. Sunlight poured through windows Leia had cleaned until they shone. The piano sat open now, its keys bearing the fingerprints of someone learning to play again. Ethan found her in the kitchen, humming while she made coffee. She wore one of his shirts, sleeves rolled up, hair loose around her shoulders. Morning, he said softly. She turned, smiling. How'd you sleep? Better, it was true. The nightmares had faded. Not gone, but quieter. You, like the dead. She brought him coffee, kissing the top of his head. We have that meeting at 11, the investors. New ones, different from the vultures who'd circled before. These believed in Marcus's vision in the technology that could change lives. Nervous? Leia asked, terrified. Ethan caught her hand. But I have you, so I'll manage. She squeezed back. Yes, you will. The doorbell rang. Leia frowned. Expecting someone? No. She checked the camera. A woman stood outside, 50s, elegant, holding flowers. Should I answer it? Leia asked. Ethan wheeled closer, studying the screen. Recognition flickered. That's Sarah Webb, Marcus's sister. They let her in. Sarah entered slowly, eyes red-rimmed. I'm sorry for coming unannounced. I saw the news. About what you did exposing Rebecca and the board? Her voice broke. Thank you for fighting for Marcus's name. He was my brother, Ethan said simply. In every way that mattered? Sarah nodded, wiping tears. I know. That's why I wanted to give you this. She held out an envelope. Marcus asked me to deliver it if anything happened to him. He said to wait until you'd found something worth living for again. Ethan took it with trembling hands. Sarah's gaze moved to Leia. I think he'd be glad you found her, Sarah said softly. He always said you needed someone who could see past the genius to the man underneath. She left them alone with the letter. Ethan opened it carefully. Marcus's handwriting filled the page, familiar as breathing. Brother, it read, If you're reading this, I'm gone. And knowing you, you probably blamed yourself. Stop. What happened wasn't your fault. It was weather, timing, fate, whatever you want to call it. But here's what I need you to know. Our work wasn't just about helping people walk. It was about proving that broken doesn't mean finished. You, of all people, need to remember that now. You're going to want to stop, to hide, to let silence swallow you whole. Don't. The world needs you. More importantly, you need the world. Find someone who makes you want to speak again. Find someone who sees the man you are, not the man you were. And when you do, hold on to them like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your brother always. Marcus Ethan's hands shook. Leia knelt beside him, reading over his shoulder. He knew. Ethan whispered. Somehow he knew. Maybe he just knew you, Leia said gently. Maybe he understood that silence was never your enemy. Fear was. Ethan looked at her, this woman who'd walked into his darkness armed with nothing but a cleaning cloth and impossible hope. "I was so lost," he said. "For so long. And then you appeared, and suddenly I remembered what it felt like to want something beyond just existing." "What do you want now?" Leia asked. "Everything." The word came fierce and sure. "A life with you. A company that honors Marcus. A future that doesn't look like the past." He cupped her face. "I want to wake up every morning and choose you. Is that enough?" "It's everything," she whispered. They kissed. Soft and slow, the kind of kiss that tasted like promises. Later. At the investor meeting, Ethan spoke clearly about neural mapping, about possibilities, about second chances. Leia sat in the back row, watching him come alive with purpose. When it was over, and they'd secured funding and shaken hands and signed papers, they drove to the lake. The water stretched silver and calm. Sailboats drifted like paper birds. "You know what's funny?" Ethan said, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. "I spent 3 years believing silence was safety, that if I didn't speak, I couldn't hurt anyone. And now I know silence was just another kind of dying." He turned to her. "You taught me that. I didn't teach you anything." Leia's fingers traced his jaw. "I just reminded you that you were still alive, and remind me every day. Deal." They sat together as darkness fell. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something new from the pieces. The mansion behind them glowed with lights that no longer felt cold. Ethan's phone buzzed. A message from an old colleague. "They want to name the new research wing after Marcus." Leia smiled. "He'd like that." "Yeah." Ethan pocketed the phone. He would. A year ago, he'd been a ghost. Now he was a man. Broken still in some ways. But broken didn't mean finished. "What are you thinking?" Leia asked. Said, "I'm glad you didn't listen when I told you to leave. I never was good at following orders. Thank God for that." She laughed, the sound bright as morning. He pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. Two damaged people choosing each other every single day. It wasn't a fairy tale. There would be hard days ahead. Therapy sessions and setbacks, and moments when the past felt too heavy to carry. But they would carry it together, and that made all the difference. The lake stretched before them, dark and deep and full of possibility. Somewhere across the water, a boat's horn called out, lonely and beautiful. Ethan pressed his lips to Leia's temple. "I love you," he whispered. "I know," she whispered back. "I heard you the first time." When you told me not to move," she looked up at him, eyes shining. "That was the moment I knew. You weren't commanding me. You were asking me to stay. I'm still asking, and I'm still staying." They kissed as stars emerged above Seattle. As the mansion's lights glowed warm behind them, as the world turned and turned and turned toward tomorrow, two ghosts who'd found their way back to the living, two silences that had finally learned to sing, the end.